Hello everyone and welcome back to the third episode of our series Continuous Integration and Continuous Delivery with Back4app. Today we're going to create our deploy.yaml file and also a few configuration files, so stay tuned. In the last episodes, we learned how to configure the Back4app CLI so you can operate your Back4app account programmatically. We did that by typing B4A and then some commands that will do the operations we want to do. In my case, I will just list and it will list all my Back4app apps, so 1 staging, 2 test, and 3 main. And all this configuration is stored in a hidden directory inside your home folder. Right now, I'm in the home folder of my Mac, and if I just go to the cd.back4app folder, you notice I have a file in here named netrc. The same structure is persisted in Linux and Windows. So all you have to do is to find this .back4app folder, which is a hidden folder in your Windows machine or on your Linux machine, and open this netrc file. I have my open here, and in here you see I have my keys that we configure on the Back4app dashboard. So this will be the account used to do this publishing in our Back4app website. Now, we need to store this information somehow on GitHub, so GitHub has access to these keys and can actually deliver that files for us. So here I am at my GitHub, and in my settings, we're going to create a new secret so we can store this kind of information. So if you scroll down, you'll see here you have secrets and variables. We expand this, and we're going to create a new secret for action. So in here, I'm going to create a repository secret and give it a good name. I'm going to call my B4A underline account underline key. And I'm going to copy the whole content of my netrc file and paste it in here. Oops, in here. And when I click add secret, this is now a hidden file. No one has access to it, but I can access it programmatically. And we will be doing that in our deploy.yaml file, so it will read this information that is stored in the secret and use it to deploy it to Back4app. Now let's create the deploy.yaml file that will have all the steps that will deploy the code from GitHub to Back4app. And keep in mind that YAML is a very fragile file format. It's very nice to use, but it's fragile to the point that even a single space out of its place might break the file. So this is a very good place for you to use an IDE or AI IDE to help you through, because once again, if you try to do this manually in a text editor such as TestEdit, chances are you're going to break the YAML file and not realize where exactly. So an AI IDE or any IDE actually can help you a lot finding any kind of character that might be breaking this file. So let's go back to Cursor and have our deploy.yaml file written. So here I am in Cursor where I open the deploy.yaml file, and we're going to start writing the YAML code in it. Now, I'm using Cursor for this, and it usually tries to autocomplete. I'll try to avoid autocompletion so we can write together all the configuration file, and I'll go line by line explaining what exactly each line does. And the very first line is the name of our workflow. So I'll just type name and then CI/CD Back4app deploy, which is the name that I choose. You can put yours, anything that you want. Next, we need to set some triggers. Triggers are when exactly this pipeline is going to run. So it's going to be like this. On, it's on, the pipeline is going to run, and then push, because I want it to run at every time I push code into my repository, and then I'm going to list the branches that I'm going to work with this pipeline. So right now I have 3 branches: main, staging, and test. So I put all those 3 here. Once again, you need to take a lot of care when using YAML files, because a single space in the wrong place might break the file. So for instance, if I put it like this, it will not work anymore. So I need to ensure every single space is correct. Now we need to start defining our jobs. Now let's open up and start defining our jobs. So I'll put a new section here called jobs. And the very first job I'm going to do is a job named checks, which will do all the checking to ensure the files are correctly placed and correctly written. So let's name our job checks. And this will run on a Ubuntu latest. It tried to autocomplete for me, so I'll just keep it on. So runs on Ubuntu latest. And now I have to define every single step that will consist of this job. So I'll put steps, and actually it auto-completed. Let's remove all that and start defining every single step that the job checks will have. So the first one is uses, and it will use actions, checkout with to check out our code. And then we're going to add another one here. Oh, come on. The name of this step is going to be name and setup Node.js. This uses the actions setup node at v4, and with the node version 20. I like to use version 20. It's known to work like a charm with Back4app. And then it actually created another step named install dependencies with npm CI. I actually prefer npm install myself. And let's keep adding those manually. Then we need to run ESLint. It tried to figure it out. We can pretty much just have it the way it is. So name run ESLint, which will run npm run lint. We can then add yet another one, which is run prettier. So name run prettier. This will run npm, actually npx prettier -- check, and then a dot because it's going to start on the current directory. Then we can have a npm build. So np name run build, and this will run npm run build. And then we can actually have a run tests. So name run tests. This will run npm test. Now, these are the steps I want to my checks job. You can have other names instead of checks, and you can have other steps inside of this. But basically, what this is going to do is going to set up Node.js, then install all the dependencies to run my code, then try to run ESLint, run check prettier, run build, and run test. If everything works inside these scripts, the checks job will be considered successful, and then we can start another job. My next job will be deploying this code after it passed all the checks to the staging environment. So just break a few lines here, and this will be called deploy staging. Deploy staging is going to be executed if and only if the code being pushed is aimed to the staging branch. So we can do that by typing if GitHub ref equals refs heads staging. This ensures this specific job will only run if pushed to staging. Then once again, it's going to runs on Ubuntu. Latest. And this step must run only if the checks job has successfully run. We can do that by typing needs, checks. And now it will know this deploy staging job will only run if this whole checks job run successfully. If I have any error at any point over here, this will be rejected and deploy staging will not run. This is very, very important because it's the only way that we have to ensure a step successfully runs through before going to the next one. Now, after we have all the checks run successfully, we can actually start the steps of this job. So let's break a new line, call it steps. And my very first step is once again use the GitHub Actions checkout to check out my code. So uses GitHub Actions / checkout at v3. And I need to install the Back4app CLI in order to run it from GitHub. GitHub jobs run from virtual machines, so it doesn't have anything installed on those machines. We need to actually install it. And we will install it the same way we install it on our computers by running a command that will be in the description of this video. So let's break it down, call it a name. And this will be install Back4app CLI. And we'll then run a command, which will be the one that we get from the website. I'll just copy from there and paste it here. There you go. This will ensure the Back4app CLI is actually installed, but it's installed but not configured. We need to configure with the Back4app netrc file that we pushed into GitHub. So let's create another step here called name configure Back4app CLI. And this will have a few steps into itself. Let's put it here, run, and then pipe so we can break a few lines. So we need first to create the directory to resemble the .back4app directory we have in our machine. We'll have that by typing mkdir -p and then home directory /.back4app. This will create the Back4app hidden directory. We have other things to do. We need to actually read the Back4app content from the netrc file that we just created into our actual netrc file. So echo, and this is pretty much wrong. Let's delete it. We're going to put like this, open two brackets, environment.secrets. Actually does not have environment, it's just secrets dot B4A account key. That will be then written inside /.back4app /netrc. Is the exact same structure that we have in our machine, and we now must make it readable so we can actually read what's inside. So chmod on that 600 on that netrc file, so it's readable only by the owner. And now we can finally have name deploy to staging app, which will run a command B4A deploy, and then the name of our staging app, which should be inside our parse local file. It's one staging. Let's copy this. And then you can actually put a description here as well. So -- description. Deploy from GitHub Actions. And I think that pretty much summarizes what we have. Now, all the steps are going to be pretty much the same for all the GitHub next jobs. will only vary the job's name and the app to which is being deployed. So I'm going to copy all this and paste it a few more times. I'm going to rename from deploy staging to deploy test. Deploy test is going to hit only if the code being pushed is for test. And now I need to match two prior conditions. It must runs on checks and also in deploy staging. So I never run tests unless I have successfully deployed to staging. So let's put it there. And then scroll down. All this is going to be the same except for the name of the app here. We can actually get to test. And there are other ways to do this. I actually prefer to have the application ID instead of the name like this. So I'll just remove that from here, put it like this. And do the same for the test one. So copy from here, paste it like this, and rename this to test. And I think it's pretty much the same. Now I'll copy it all again, paste once more, and deploy to main, which is going to hit our main branch. This will also meet the deploy test, so we need to run first for checks, then deploy staging, and then deploy test, and only then be able to run on main. Everything else will be the same, except this is going to be the main app. And we need to get the main app ID from here and paste it there. And this pretty much summarizes everything we need. We can now try to deploy this and see if there are any errors. The easiest way to find any errors in this file is trying to deploy it to GitHub and see how that runs. So I'll just open my console here. Right now I'm on the staging branch. We need to push code first in staging because it's the entry point of our code. It will be checked, then run to staging, and only then follow to the other branches. So we're going to commit this. So git add dot. There we go. All the files are now added to my commit. Git commit -m first commit. And then we can actually push it. So git push origin staging. Now, after doing this a few times, I never expected to work at once. So let's just go there and see if it's working. Probably not, and see what we need to change. There we go. So if we go to actions, it's trying to run. Let's give it a few seconds. And there we go. It already failed on the checks step. Let's see why. It failed on run prettier. It said there are some style issues found in 5 files. I need to run prettier with --right to fix. So let's go back to our code and fix it so we can try to save. So let's run prettier with right, and hopefully it will fix all the issues we have. So npx prettier --right dot. There we go. A few files were changed. You can see the modified files are over there. So git add dot git commit -m fixed by prettier git push origin staging. Once again, we should have a summary running. Let's go back here. Fixed by prettier. Let's see if it's going to work. So the checks step worked. Let's see if the deploy for staging is going to work. and it didn't. So let's understand why. So apparently this app wasn't found. Let's try to understand why. Let's go back to our code here. Let me open a new terminal. And let's try to run that command manually to understand what error it gives. So let's see. Yeah, it's passing in the application ID is not working. Let's try to do exactly the same, but instead passing the app's name. This used to work, but probably changed in a latest version of the CLI. So this should go to one staging, and hopefully this will work. Yeah, it worked. So the app ID as I used to work does not work anymore. We need to change this into our files. So instead of staging, we're going to remove the app ID and put one staging. There you go. And actually remove it from test and put two tests. There you go. And last but not least, remove the one from main and put it to tree main. Once again, we need to push this code back to GitHub. So git add dot git commit -m fixed app IDs in deploy.yaml. Actually, let's put apps names. This should work better, and then push it again. So git push origin staging. Let's go back here. See if it's going to work this time. Checks is running. Checks worked. Let's see the deploy for staging. And there we go. We have our code deployed to staging. So we can now follow on. I will stop this video here because it's getting way too long. And on the next one, we're going to run all the three pipelines. So there you have it, everyone. A little bit of rework, but we got it running on staging. On the next video, we're going to run the full pipeline. So stay tuned. If you enjoyed this content, please leave a like in this video and consider subscribing to the channel so you'll never miss out on your content like this. I'll also share this video with a friend and they can learn something too. I hope you enjoyed this content and hope to see you back on the channel soon. See you soon. Bye bye.